Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Tim, and today I wanted to talk to you about remakes. There have been quite a lot that have been announced or released as of late. DuckTales, Halo, Age of Empires, Punch-Out, the recently announced Amplitude update, Gauntlet, Tales of Symphonia Chronicles, Final Fantasy X2, Homeworld, Wind Waker, Tomb Raider, Shaq Fu, Age of Mythology, and Baldur's Gate, to name a few. Some have been great, borderline excellent, while others have been, less than their source material, let's just say. But the idea of a refreshed coat of paint and a refurbished and polished gameplay system from a game that I enjoyed in my youth is very alluring, and quite frankly, when it's done right, is worth, well, not the original cost of the game. I don't know if you remember this, but games have always been incredibly expensive. You see that? That's an ad for GoldenEye from 1997, selling the game for $69.99, industry standard at the time. And you know how much the remake costs? $59.99, the new industry standard for the time. Listen, I understand the time and money and effort and resources that goes into making something. I know production. But you also have to consider the motivations behind the company to see why they're releasing the game in the first place. And you then have to remember that they're capitalizing on the nostalgia and the goodwill that one particular property has built up over the years since I've been able to enjoy it properly, all huddled in my blanket in the darkness only illuminated by the television screen, and simply remaking it. Meaning that the extensive pre-production time that goes into most of these projects is cut dramatically. The writing has already been mostly done, the art assets need only to be updated, and in concept at least, the game is largely completed. Now, yes, the budget can't be cheap in normal people money, but compared to the $50 million that it can take to make some of these big AAA games, it takes nothing to remake a game for the 3DS of $400,000. Which, according to an interview with CNET, Nintendo only has to sell 100,000 units of those in order to turn a profit. So where there is a profit to be turned, we can never have nice things, like companies simply just remaking, retooling, remastering, redoing whatever, these small games that made them big, that people loved, to give them a small monetary boost while they work on their next big, hopefully new IP, game. Instead, more often than not, you have companies turning that very nostalgic feeling against you, making you buy the same game in different iterations over and over and over again. Some are even resorting to blatant and frankly insulting means of raking in money hand over fist, like the infamous Dungeon Keeper, which is time gated in such a way that if you don't want to wait up to 24 hours to dig up one square block out of the 45 you're going to need to build this dungeon properly, you're going to have to shell out a bit of change, and boy does the game let you know it.
Yes, nothing wrong with a little thrift to get ahead, is there?
But I wanted to talk specifically about two upcoming remakes that I think perfectly encapsulate both the light and dark side of remaking some of these classic games. Oddworld New and Tasty, and the upcoming Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. Yeah, that's right. Now, as I mentioned in a previous video, I am in fact very excited for Oddworld New and Tasty. Abe's Odyssey was a stellar platforming game that suffered a little bit from the stilted controlling patterns of the time, and was a wonderfully dark story set in a world that was so much more fleshed out than the Polygon should have allowed it to be. And now it's getting completely worked over. The engine is getting built from the ground up, the visuals are getting remade, the audio is getting remastered, and it's going to run at a smooth 1080 60 frames per second on my lovely little PC baby here. Made gingerly and lovingly by the same group of people that made it the first time. And on the other hand, we have another Pokemon game. Now listen, I know my Pokemon. I have the cards, I own the games, I had the freaking CD for Christ's sakes. You see that Game Boy up there? Pokemon Red's in it right now. Gary Oak ain't got shit on me. But that's just it, isn't it? I'm the champion of Johto, bitch. You should know me. And yet every time we go back into yet another Pokemon game, you have to go to Professor Oak and he's all, "Hello and welcome to the wonderful world of Pokemon. I want to get you on your journey, but first, are you a boy or a girl?" "Oh well, take one of these, and don't forget to call the old man so he can teach you how to catch a Weedle." Happened in Ruby, happened in Sapphire, happened in the ones before them, and the ones before them, and the ones after them, including the ones that just came out in April. So not to rag on Nintendo, but again, you have to understand the motivations behind why these products are being made before you just go spending your money on them. Which means I have to ask, if you're making another Pokemon title, which I assume you have to because of some Faustian deal you have to stay on this earth, why make yet another remake of yet another old game? I mean, is it really that smart to put all your balls in that particular basket, so to speak? Pokeballs. Stay focused. Why not the Virtual Console right next to that copy of Punch Out with Mr. Dream that I bought for $4.99? God, why? And regardless, if all you wanted to do was port the Pokemon and the continent to the new system, isn't that exactly what DLC is supposed to be for? Can't you figure out some other way to do it? How about your newly released Pokemon Bank? I'll bet you that could be useful. And once you eliminate all of those other reasons, the only thing that you're left with is because it will sell. The worst motivation to do anything, and yet the only motivation that seems to actually matter in business. Well, that's actually kind of a new development in the video game market, but let's face it, that kind of inane bullshit has been happening for years in every other marketing sector that's outside of our video game blinders. And now these same companies that decided that sugar was bad in Coke and let's put high fructose corn syrup instead, that said the double down is an excellent idea, that somehow figured out how to market water back to us. Those are the ones that are going to be dipping their toes in our games now. They're preparing to stamp these companies into complacency with whatever diamond-plated gold boots that they had sewn together with the tears of the poor and the broken. No, Nintendo is not that bad. But I love this industry too much to let that happen to any company, much less one that beloved. And I refuse to see it go down a dark path that no Reggie Fils-A-Mech can come back from. All we can do is be educated about their ways and hopefully make smarter purchases in the future. So in the end, I'll be picking up Oddworld New and Tasty, and I won't be picking up Omega Ruby and Alpha Pretentiousness, because I'm going to vote the only way these companies seem to listen to, with my money. And I hope you'll do the same. You'll find relevant linkages to everything I discussed down below. Let me know what you think down in the comments. I'd be interested to hear from you. And as always, we'll see you next time.